Relax, the keyboard is off and the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink, the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Join your host, Lance Green, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, and co-host SteelFlyers, as we bring you all the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink with your host, Lance Green.
All right, Steel, how are you?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, I am like on the edge of my seat, Lance. What do we got coming up here real soon, buddy?
The start of a new season, for sure. Preseason is over. Teams are finalizing their rosters. Some surprises that we'll get into in a little bit and discuss. But overall, I like it. So
I'm here to tell you, folks. I'm here to tell you, man. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. I'm SteelFlyers, your co-host. Lance Green is your host. We are from the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, and we would like to say thank you all for checking us out. Big, huge thank you to Spreaker for all your help in getting us out to all the different podcasting platforms. So all you have to do out there, folks, is type in the Hockey Writers Ink in your favorite podcasting platform. Give us a 5-star rating. And thanks for doing that, by the way, getting us ranked in the top 15 of all Flyers podcasts. We are ranked number 11. So thank you guys very much for that. Yep, you get the Hockey Writers Ink salute for that, for sure. So thank you very much for that, man. I'll tell you what. All right, man, Lance, let's get into it, man. This is here we go, man. Here we go. Are you guys fired up about the start of a new Flyers season? Episode number 141. I'm here to tell you the Hockey Writers Ink is definitely fired up and ready to go for a new season. What do you think, Lance?
I think so. I think, there's a lot of just excitement everywhere, not between just us, but all Flyers fans. I think the past couple of years, the start of a new season kind of was like, oh, okay, same old. But even though we're still maybe not rebuilding, they don't want to use that word anymore. But even though we're in a sense of we're going to be fighting again. We're going to be trying to be competitive this year. We see some of these young guys coming up as a couple of even made the roster, but opening night roster. But there's hope this year. I think that the from the fans and everybody surrounding the Flyers that this team is at least going to be a little bit more competitive than they were last year. And saying that, they were definitely in games last season under John Tortorella. But
yep.
I believe that there's a hope that this team is going to maybe contend even for maybe a late playoff push or something like that. Well, we'll see how it goes and who's healthy and all that good stuff. But I think there's a lot of hope for these younger guys and for Sean Couturier and others coming back. And let's see what we got here.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lance. One thing that you and I touched on previous shows was this has to be the start of the youth movement. This has to be the start of the young guys starting to take a bigger bite of the apple, okay? Mm-hmm. And we are clearly going to see that this year with the Philadelphia Flyers based off of their opening night roster. And this is kind of what we're going to kind of get into the whole start of the season here and kind of where we're looking at and how we're feeling and what Lance and I think is going to fly for the start of the season. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that Lance and I touched on previous shows was the youth movement, and we're going to see that in the likes of Bobby Brink making the opening night roster, Emil Andrea making the opening night roster, Tyson Forster making the opening night roster, Igor Zamula making the opening night roster. I mean, if you guys can't be excited about the fact that we're getting a healthy Sean Couturier back who looked really good in preseason, we're getting a healthy Cam Atkinson back who looked really good in preseason, okay? You got Scotty Lawton back, fighting back, you know what I'm saying? You got a good core group of guys that I'm with you, Lance. I want to be optimistic and say that they could be fighting for contention, but I don't want to put that level of pressure on this team because I don't think that that's where they're at yet.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But the excitement is there that there could be a possibility, and who knows with other teams if there's major injuries or something like that. Like Tampa Bay just had their starting goalie, found out their starting goalie is going to be out for quite some time. But we talked about this deal, like you said, their need of a youth movement. The Flyers for a long time have been sitting there and filling roster spots with over the hill veterans that are just subpar and not really bringing any excitement, just filling roster spots.
Yep.
But with John Tortorella there and now Danny Briere and Keith Jones coming in, they have a new outlook for what they want for this team. And I think that it's showing in this opening night roster with some of those young guys that you just said. Now, with those young guys, like I said in my article a couple of weeks ago, the Flyers camp battles that are set to ensue, I kind of predicted this might happen. And particularly with one player that was waived this year by the Flyers. And it may have surprised some people, but I don't think it surprised me due to this player's injury history. And that was Wade Allison, of course. A great young player with tons of heart, a Flyer through and through, tons of grit. But, the reliability factor of him being in the lineup and on the ice instead of up in the press box with me and others is just, not there. And for him to start out the season and take a roster spot from, some of these up and coming players, like you said, the Tyson Forsters and the Bobby Brinks, I want to see the youth. I want to see the youth, what they can do. I think, Tyson Forster we've seen and just a handful of games at the end of the season came up and really looked good. And had a good camp, but I think he's one of those guys that is going to play better with better players around him when the full NHL roster is on the ice and he's getting to step out on the ice with them. He's a guy that will benefit from that. And, I kind of think of him of Owen Tippett, kind of. He's got an amazing shot, and all he needs is somebody to feed it to him, and he's gonna show you what he's got, as he did in the 8 to 10 games that he played last season. So I look for him to be pretty big. What do you think, Steel?
Even in the games that he played this preseason, the way he played. Do you know what I mean? You could definitely tell that his game was elevated when he played with top line players. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of player that you need to have in there, and that's the kind of thing. I also kind of feel the same way about Bobby Brink. Now, Bobby Brink is a bit of a different player because he kind of can bring it on his own. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, he's the fire plug out there, man. That dude was just all over the freaking ice in the preseason. He had another amazingly great camp, and I am just grateful to see that he made the team because I think he definitely deserves it based off of the way he's played, how he was injured, and then was able to come back from that injury and play well coming back from that injury down in the AHL and doing the things that he was supposed to do and lifting the weights he was supposed to lift and doing the rehab he was supposed to, and now he's got a shot, okay? And now here's your shot. I'm excited about this young player. I think he's going to create a lot of buzz on the team as far as with his potential offensive capabilities. Because, look, let's face it, this team needs any offensive spark it can get. Okay?
I think he's a great playmaker for sure.
1 for 19 on the power play in the preseason. All right, I get it, it's preseason, but 1 for 19? I need some more offense, guys.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Bobby can bring that. as he did for the University of Denver. I think he's a great playmaker, and I think he's built upon that within the last year with the Phantoms and maybe this offseason, and adding to that a better skating ability than he
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
couple of years ago or when he was drafted. He really looked like he was moving out there and could really keep up with the pace, and it showed. And granted, that's why he made the opening night roster.
I mean, I know we want to talk about some of these other guys, but I think that one thing that we do have to touch on is the fact that um, not the final preseason, the second to last preseason game, Ristolainen was a scratch. Okay, and Emil Andre filled in for him during that game. Emil Andre made the opening night roster along with Igor Zamula because now Ristolainen is on the injured reserve. Okay,
Hmm.
so we got another. We're going to get a look at not only Emil Andre, but we're also going to get a look at Igor Zamula as well too on the back end because of the Ristolainen thing. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys are, Zamula's been here a while, and it's time to put up or shut up. And for him, I think he really needs to come out and needed to come out and have a great camp. And I think it wasn't what I wanted out of him, but I think he did enough, obviously, to make the team. Being that, obviously there's a person already injured or whatever. With Ristolainen, but Emil Andre just brings a something special to the team that they didn't have, right? He's an amazing puck mover on the back end. He can kind of dance around that blue line like nobody's business, and he's going to take some pressure off offensively off of Cam York, I think, in a sense where he's going to be able to move that puck around and skate with it and find that open guy and hopefully help a power play unit or
Yeah,
something on
yeah.
that second power play unit. But you know, some great additions to that defense. Where you saw some people obviously leave out, like we said, some of those aging veterans that just didn't need to be here. Your Justin Bronze and all that. Um, you know, Nick
Bye.
Sealer, yeah, Nick Sealer is one of those guys that I had on the bubble.
Yeah,
I really like his versatility. He can play the right side, he can play the left side. He's physical. He can drop the gloves when needed. But he made the opening night roster. But when Ristolainen comes back, if it's going to be a tough decision
who's gonna
for
be
for
going
the
back?
coach. Who's going to be going back down? Will it be Andre? Will it be Zumala? It's going to
Yeah,
affect somebody. But I think Nick Sealer is really going to have a strong first couple of games,
to
and
stay
really
up.
prove his worth to stay here as well.
Yeah.
Um, Before we talk about the goaltending steal, I want to go back to the offense for a second.
Hold on,
And
real quick though. I want to say one
yeah,
thing
yeah,
about this defense here. I
sure.
like the quote from what Tortorella said. He said that about Emil Andre that
Hmm.
he's young and he's gonna make mistakes, but he is capable of making that outlet play, and he's capable of making other plays. So John Tortorella said, although he's young and is going to make mistakes, I like the capability of the plays that he can make, and that's what Tortorella said about him. And so when your coach is saying that about you, then yeah, you're making the team. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's okay that you're a rookie and you're gonna make mistakes because we know it's gonna happen, especially a rookie defenseman. But coaching staff willing to look past that to, hey, look at what else he brings to the table. Do you know what I mean? So building off of what when Ristolainen is healthy, who's going to be the one who that's going to have to get sent down. So all right, let's talk about the offense or lack thereof.
Well, yes, lack thereof. But in addition to some of those youthful guys going to be entering the lineup, I think we got to talk about that crazy fourth line that the Flyers management has built with Hathaway And, Ryan centering that line is an addition as a free agent coming in. I think
I
he's
know.
a great face-off guy. But Hathaway, with his ability just to put it to guys in training camp, I thought was great. And
Yeah,
raising everybody's compete level.
yeah.
And
A
I think
good
he'll be doing that.
professional.
Yes, yes, and making these guys, show him that they wanted it, and teaching these guys that they really need to work hard in practice and training camp and everything like that, and treat it as it was a game really. And I think that that kind of player bringing in is that John Tortorella guy that is going to push the pace even in practice
Yeah,
to the point where he's going to help these guys become better professionals and better at their craft because he's pushing everybody while he's out there, and he's going to be
exactly.
pushing around the opposition as well, which is great in my mind. But then you got Nick as well on the back, the fourth line with him and
Scored a
offering
great
that
goal in the
grit.
preseason, by the way,
Oh,
man.
oh my gosh, yeah, just that fourth line is going to be exciting to watch. And most, everybody's like, "Oh, you're talking about a fourth line." But these are the guys that are going to be able to give your top two lines and everything the rest they need. All right, you want to have a uh, confidence in that fourth line that you have to be able to put them out on the ice and get some minutes out of them and wear down that opposition,
Yep.
beating and banging them up a little bit, so that when your top two lines get out there, maybe they got a little bit of an edge. And Keith Jones said it, and Tortorella's been preaching it since he's been here. They want to be tougher to play against, and I think that line in particular is going to make the team tougher to play against.
I think so
Uh,
too.
I I really like it. I really like that
Yeah,
fourth line, and I'm
yeah.
interested to see what they really bring. I think they're going to be a little bit more offer a little bit more offense than past fourth lines, obviously in the past couple of years that the Flyers had. But they're going to be interesting line to watch for
I'll
sure.
I'll tell you what, man. In that Boston preseason game, that fourth line looked really, really smoking. Okay,
Yeah.
and Boston was pretty much, I'd say they were like 90% starting team game. Okay, if
Yeah.
they didn't have everybody in, but I would say that was
Uh,
ninety
got a lot of
percent.
people.
I mean, they had their starting goaltender in, their starting defense in. You know what I'm saying? Blah 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 blah. That was pretty much I mean, the last two preseason games for the Flyers are the ones that I really gauge what this team is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And those last two games were against Boston, who, let's face it, they were the President's Trophy winners last year, and they just look to be putting together another amazing team again this year. The Islanders, they made one change. They didn't hardly lose anybody. They haven't done anything different than what they're putting out, basically the same team that they did last year. And
Yeah, I see your point there. I mean, I can see why Boston's not making many changes. Why fix something that ain't broke, right? You try to keep all the pieces you did have and try to bring up maybe one or two guys to fill some holes from your system. But the Islanders, I don't know. They had
that's a
a
bit of
couple
a
of
head
good pieces,
scratcher.
but yeah, they they've had some hard luck in drafting and everything like
Yeah,
that, and
we'll
guys
see.
not really developing
Yeah.
to their likings, but or maybe a little slower than expected. But good for the Flyers in that sense,
I
right?
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Boston, I
So
think, is going to be a good team this year. Not so much the Islanders, but I still think it was a good warm up game for the Flyers because it also
mhm,
kind of was a gauge because that was Islanders pretty much 90% their full team as well for that final preseason game against the Flyers. And the Flyers dominated. Okay, they dominated the score sheet. They held the Islanders to minimal shots. You know what I'm saying? And it was an impressive game all the way around. The one thing that you talked about at the very opening of the show, and that's hope.
right.
This team has that vibe now where, okay, they may not be the Bostons, the Tampa Bays, the Carolinas, where they go marching into a town and go, yeah, we're winning this game. The Flyers are at least going into the town going, I hope we win this game, instead of, man, all right, we're going to lose. So now it's the, I hope we're going to win, right? So we're getting closer to that, walking into the town with the swagger going, what you got? We got you, right? We ain't there yet, but we're at least walking into town and going, all right, we can skate with these guys. We got a shot. You know what I mean? So I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I definitely think, hopefully we got the confidence. And last year we opened up pretty good too, being that John Tortorella just has his team ready to play come game one.
Yeah.
And that's something that the Flyers honestly haven't had out of other coaches. They've always started kind of slow. But, John's got these guys ready, probably dogging them a little bit, in training camp and everything, and they're probably a little tired.
I think
maybe. In some of those preseason games, but tired is good, and they'll get a couple days rest hopefully before the start of the season to kind of lick their wounds. But hopefully they'll be ready to go like they were last year.
I'm with you.
But moving on to goaltending here.
I was just going to say, let's get to some goaltending here because excuse me, it's something that we need to talk about here. And aside from everything that's going on with the Canadian Federation, as far as that whole
court drama and allegations and whatever,
what do you think about Tortorella naming Sam Ersson as the Flyers' backup goaltender?
Well, it was definitely interesting. Cap crunch and all that played a part in that, I'm sure, with, Cal Peterson being there and essentially signed to a $5 million contract. I think, he was obviously a piece that allowed that deal to go through because the Flyers were able to take on some salary in a sense. But I think it was Cal's job really to lose.
Yeah.
And he lost it.
Yeah.
In my mind,
Clearly.
He did not look strong in the preseason games that he had. His fate was already kind of sealed, I think, anyway, prior, or on that trade, they didn't really want to carry darn near $7 million or whatever it is in salary cap for goaltenders between him and Carter Hart. And honestly, I think Sam played a heck of a lot better in preseason, and last year he showed that he could handle it. He clearly showed that he could handle it. He had some great numbers. He kept the team really competitive, even when he did lose games. I like what I saw from him last year, and I'm okay with him, getting a chance on this kind of team where they're at now. To be Carter Hart's backup or 1A or 1B kind of guy, even. We'll have to see how well Carter comes out of the gate playing. Because a lot is surrounding. I don't know how he feels necessarily, but a lot is surrounding Carter Hart right now with everything hanging over his head, and only he knows if he's really innocent in that sense or guilty.
I'm with you.
And I think he feels like a new management's here and all this, and these guys did not draft me.
He looked good.
He had to heard the rumors about potentially being on the trade block, or at least the team listening to calls about him, and that had to be a eye-opening experience as well, because There's a lot of fans out there, let's face it, that are still on the Carter Hart train and, love this guy unconditionally and probably put him up on a bit of a pedestal that he hasn't really deserved with his past 5 seasons as the Flyers. And I kind of got into a little Twitter battle with a couple of fans and saying some stuff about that, just putting out facts from last season and his career as a whole. They're not really impressive numbers at all, and there some of them save percentage wise and goals against average wise. He ranked kind of at the end, towards the end of the list there for starting goalies as far as those numbers go. And the team in front of him played bad, yes, but as a whole, for the past 5 years, his numbers haven't been that great, or as to be that first goalie taken in that draft class. So,
Lance, we've talked about this before in the past about a comparison for Carter Hart, and we tried to do the Mason.
Yeah.
We tried to do that comparison.
Steve Mason, yeah.
Steve Mason, because it was almost the same number of games. They came from the same kind of pedigree where they had won a lot at the junior level and all that other stuff. And when they got to the professional level and, whatever. So as far as I'm concerned, I do not look and see Carter Hart as being elite.
No.
I barely see him as a starting goalie, because his numbers do not pan out to be a starting goaltender. Okay? Look, he's a nice guy, and that's all fine and great. But if you just want to look at numbers, okay, he's not elite. He's barely a starting goaltender. He has only won 0.42% of his games. Yeah. Look, I don't care what kind of a crazy excuse you want to give me for, the team's not playing in front of him. Oh, this, oh, that, oh, this, oh, that. All right. Let's go back.
Those excuses are only going to last so long.
Let's go back a couple years, and let's pick on a goalie by the name of Dominik Hasek. Now, I am not in any stretch of the word comparing Carter Hart to Dominik Hasek, because there's not even a comparison there. But what I'm trying to say is the whole concept of Dominik Hasek. He played for historically horrible, wretched teams. They had no offense, they had no defense, they had nothing. He played for horrible teams. But what did he do?
Buffalo, yeah.
He still had 5, 6, 7 shutouts every year. That, to me, signifies that goalie is able to win games on his own. Okay? Yes, he played for a bad team, but as far as I'm concerned, that is elite. I'm not talking about, you need to have, shutouts to be elite. No, but you need to be able to have a higher winning percentage than 500%. You need to be able to have more than 2 shutouts in 5 years. You need to be able to take over games. Okay? Do you remember when the Flyers played in the bubble? Mm-hmm. And they went to the playoff game, and Carter Hart was all the talk. And what happened? He stole a game. Yeah. Where's that? That, to me, is elite. Okay? Until you do that on a consistent basis, like,
Hasek and all them, yeah.
Hasek, or let's go new Fleury, because I saw the Twitter battle that everybody was talking about and all that, and look, when you can't stop the puck, I don't care who you are, okay, you can't stop the puck. So as a goaltender, your job is to stop the puck. If your name is Carter Hart, your job is to stop the puck. If you're not stopping the puck, then how can you be considered elite? How can you be considered somebody who doesn't have a good winning percentage? How do you talk about somebody being elite when they barely have any shutouts for the last 5 years? talk to me. How? He's
Yeah.
barely played in 40-some games a season.
Yeah, I mean, a career high of only 24 wins. That's not getting the job done. A career 5 shutouts, just 5 shutouts. I think I think the NHL leader from last season had 5 or 6 shutouts just last season alone. Um, a career 296 goals against average and a save percentage of only 906 career wise. That's not really great. Those are backup goalie numbers. Those are
At
AHL,
best.
you know, guys' numbers, right?
At
Out
best.
of 201 games played, he's only won 84 of them. Like you said, Steele, under a sub 500 win percentage is not going to keep your job in the NHL. There's there's very limited times, like you said, in the bubble and such, where I've seen Carter Hart come out and just dominate a game and take it. Like, even if your team's bad in a sense and not scoring you lots of goals, if you're as good as his pedigree was, or as good as some of these fans in Philadelphia would like to think that he is still, uh, he would be able to win games 2-1, 1-zip, and cause a shutout and take over a game to afford his team a win. And he just isn't doing that. He's not doing that at all.
His backup he is. His backup goalie is.
His backups.
Ersson did that twice last year.
Was playing pretty well last year. He's used to playing in the SHL for a very bad team, and still somehow coming out on top and shining in a sense. So I mean, and that's kind of what you need. And for my last point here about Carter Hart, and then we can move on or whatever. But he's not a starting goaltender in my mind because he cannot. In today's NHL, he cannot play the puck at all, and I was not good at it at all either when I played. But I knew that, and I kept my butt in the goal, or I went out just enough to stop it behind the net and made sure a defenseman was coming to get it and not coughing it up to the other team by trying to force something that wasn't there. You think after 5, 6 seasons now, entering into his 6th season in NHL, that he would be a little bit better in that sense, but he's not. And as well as an NHL goalie needs to be able to be shut down in the shootouts. That is a thing in the NHL now. It's not just a penalty shot anymore where you're going to see a shootout type situation. This is how teams get into the playoffs sometimes, by winning 3, 4 of these a season to get those extra couple points in overtime wins that go to a shootout. That Eastern Conference Division's very close some years, and the difference between you being a 9 seed and going home and not playing in the playoffs, and a team that is either in the 7th or 8th slot, is a couple of those shutout wins. And he's never really fared too well in those situations. He's not a guy that I'm going to sit back and go like, oh, he's got this, because he normally doesn't.
I'm with you. And, look, here's the thing. We don't claim to be professionals. We're not scouts by any stretch of the word. Lance, you played goal for a number of years. You coached goal. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. You know how to play the position as far as that's concerned. So you're able to have that perspective and be able to look at a goalie and look at his mechanics and look at how he's going down into the butterfly. Look at how he's doing his side to sides. Look at how he's doing his, top of the net, how he's covering the top of the net. Is he going down into the butterfly every single time? Is he being patient? Is he waiting for the shooter? Is he, all these kinds of things that you've had to do. You have that insight to be able to see, hey, this goalie is, he's not doing this real well, or hey, he's doing this really well, but he's not doing that, or, you know what I mean? And so when you tell me something like this about a goaltender, I tend to listen up more because you come at it with that of experience and education. Do you know what I mean? And so I just want to let everybody know that we're not claiming to be professional scouts or anything of that nature. But when you watch as much hockey as we do, and when Lance, you played it you're still playing it. I mean, you know what? You're still playing goal, you know. But when you played it for as long as you have, and you've been around it and coached it and all of those, I mean, that's coming from that of experience and that of education and that of knowing. Do you know what I mean? Look, we're not trying to knock down anybody. We want to see this team succeed just like everybody else. But the truth of the matter is this. It doesn't matter if you have a bad team or not. You need to have a goalie back there that can stop the puck, okay? And steal you a couple games a year. Look, I'm not asking you for 7 or 8 shutouts every year. But hey, maybe 3 or 4? I mean, what? That's not even the normal. I mean, normal goalies are getting, anyway. So, all right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think Carter Hart is overall, besides the other things that I said, he's grossly, horrible at. He's technically sound goaltender, but I just don't see that fire.
Yeah.
That some goalies have. That ability to just come out there and just in warm-ups, you can see this guy is not going to let a puck in tonight. You know what I mean?
Because you saw that with Ron Hextall, right?
you saw that with some past goaltenders that the Flyers had, or even one of my favorites that they never should have got rid of, Sergei Bobrovsky, when he was with the Flyers. You saw that. You saw that preparation that went in, and if you got to the rink early, he was running stairs, he was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. He was there way before the game, and you saw he was zoned in, he was locked in. Even in warm-ups where he never even liked to let a goal in then. Yeah. And that's what I don't see from Carter Hart. I think he's just, he's good, technically sound. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes in his game besides stick handling and stuff like that. But he just doesn't have that drive, that will to want to win, to be dominant like he's capable of, like we've seen in the bubble and all that. I just don't know. Somebody needs to light a fire under his butt and, get him going. And maybe, like we were just saying, maybe, some of these rumored trade embargoes and stuff with some of these teams and, everything hanging over his head, maybe it does light a fire under his butt. I hope so, because the Flyers need him. The Flyers need him to step up.
Yeah. I mean, they have needed him to step up for the last couple of years, and he just hasn't. Do you know what I mean? And it has become not a point of strength where everybody thought it was going to be, but it has become a point of weakness. To the tune of the fact that Danny Breyer's out there drafting 2 goalies back-to-back, signing goalies in trades, you know what I mean? The whole 9 yards. I mean, and then hurrying up to sign them to ELCs so that they don't go anywhere. Yeah, okay, well, whatever. So, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? And that's just kind of what we're going to deal with. All right. First game is against Columbus Blue Jackets. We're going to see Ivan Provorov. Okay? What do you think about this game?
Well, I think that the Blue Jackets are a team that people take lightly because they haven't been good for so long, but they definitely made some improvements in their roster over the years, and they got some scary guys on the roster, on paper at least, from Johnny Hockey and others that should scare people, but for whatever reason haven't really got it going. So it should be interesting. I really like Cole Sillinger. He's a young player that they drafted that I talked about that I wish the Flyers drafted that year. They're going to have Fantilli, of course, there, second overall pick. Johnny Hockey, Pavelski, Patrick Laine, of course, if he ever got his stuff together, I mean, he is a talent. He has the talent to score 40, 50 goals a year, but he just needs
I
to get
agree.
his head
Yeah,
into the game.
yeah.
Uh, Kent Johnson is there, a guy that's a trick play artist. Just scary, good with a puck on his stick. Jack Resavolik, another young guy, centerman that is a good pickup guy that they got with the Line A trade. And then you talked about it. You got Provorov entering in that defense that has been kind of weak, but besides Zach there that's been there for a while. Um, the goaltending, who really knows? But I think the Flyers could definitely get a win, out of this first game. They got to play hard. They got to watch, some key people out on the ice and, you know, really shut them down. But hopefully with the likes of Sean Couturier back, helping the Scott Laughtons and the additions of, Ryan Poling and stuff like that to the team. Hopefully we can get that done and get a W in our first game and really see this team get off to a strong start.
I'm also looking at the same kind of thing. I'm not trying to take anything away from Columbus because they did a lot of great moves this offseason to improve their team drastically from what it was last year. I think I think Columbus might be that sleeper team that nobody's paying attention to because let's face it, with some of the names that you just mentioned, are some guys that could potentially. I mean, if they figure it out, you know what I mean, and start playing like they could, then Columbus could be scary good. Okay, so, but I think that this could potentially be because it's early in the season, everything else like that. I do look for the Flyers to have a good game against Columbus, and I do look for a win here on this one. One thing that I do want to say in closing, and this is one thing that we're going to have to talk about throughout the entire year. For number one, we're looking very forward to the Phantoms coming up this year, based off of the number of guys that have been sent back down that didn't make the club. I think the Phantoms are going to be a really good team, and I think that that's something that people are going to have to contend with. Do you know what I mean? That the Phantoms are going to be a good team, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do this year. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think this team's, gonna be pretty good, and it depends on who stays up and who goes back down, like you said. But there's definitely some guys that are pushing everything and down there, and I think Ian LePerriere did well in getting them to the point where they were last year of
yeah,
kind of being that scratch playoff team that hopefully they can improve upon that and
I think
and
they're going
and
to this year. Yeah,
I think they will. I think they will, and um, they got a pretty good AHL goaltender now that Cal's been sent down there, so he should be for all the money that they're trying to pay him, but obviously it'll make less down there. But
well, we'll see.
whatever the case may be, I think they're going to be a good team. So we'll check on them throughout the season as well, and see who's keeping things afloat down there, and who maybe be looking at as a call up as the
Yeah.
season progresses and some injuries may occur.
So, all right. Well, Lance, I'll tell you what, man. We're both looking forward to the start of this season. We're both fired up here about the Flyers starting of the season. We're looking forward to the Columbus Blue Jackets game. We're looking forward to games that count, games that matter. So, man, I'll tell you what. Why don't you tell the folks if you have anything coming up in the works? Any articles?
I want to for the Flyers related stuff. I kind of want to see now that we've seen the team set up. I want to see a game or
See
two
a game or
before I
two.
I'll put something out in that aspect. As always, I'm hungry on the prospect watch side of things and trying to get some new guys to come join us, and I
Yeah,
think
buddy.
we just did there. So look for a new show coming out very soon
Yep.
on that as well.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell the folks where we can find you and where we can get all your great articles and great stuff that you put out, Lance?
As always, you can find all my stuff on SteelFlyers.com exclusively. And, I posted all to Twitter as well, where you can uh, agree with me, disagree with me, and we'll have a intelligent conversation on there. I'm more than happy to get in touch with fans and, you know, discuss things and their viewpoints and hear their viewpoints out. It's all fun for
It
me.
is, man. It is.
I
Yeah.
like having the discussions, whether you agree with me or not, and then it's always
That's
fun.
what it's
So,
about.
yep, and of course Facebook as well. Any and all of your flyer Facebook groups, we post everything there as well, so you can go on there and click and find our stuff as well.
Awesome, man. Well, Lance, thank you very much, man. The editor in chief of the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. Thank you for all the work that you do. Really appreciate everything that you do. This wouldn't fly if it wouldn't be for you. You know, the Batman and Robin of Flyers podcast. So, the editor in chief, the writer extraordinaire, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, all these great nicknames. So thank you, Lance. Really appreciate everything that you do. I'm your co-host, Steel Flyers. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. And you can find me and all the great stuff that we do, Prospect Watch, Steel Flyers Show, the Hockey Writers Ink Show, the 5-Star and Steel Show, as well at SteelFlyers.com. So check us out. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook. We'll catch you guys all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Ink.